Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachanam pangum langate girim. Yat kripa tamaham vande Sri Gurunti Natarine. So in this chapter, Krishna is explaining about the modes. He explained how each mode affects or characteristics of each mode. Sattva, Tamo, Rajas and Tamogun. So, and how these three modes bind us. So now Krishna explains how these modes, not only the individual modes, but together these three modes overcome us or bind us. So that he starts to explain in these words and how it affects individual. Rajas tamas cha abhibhuya.
Rajastamascha abhibhuya
Sattvam bhavati bharata.
Sattvam bhavati bharata
Raja sattvam tamaschaiva.
Raja sattvam tamaschaiva
Tamah sattvam rajas tatha.
Tama sattvam rajastatha
Oh, please chant.
Rajastamascha abhibhuya Sattvam bhavati bharata Rajas sattvam tamaschaiva Tamaha sattvam rajastatha.
रजस्तमश्चाभिभूय सत्त्वं भवति भारत रजसत्त्वं तमश्चैव तमसत्त्वं रजस्तथा.
Okay, so translation and purport. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the mode of passion and ignorance. Son of Bharata, sometimes mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy purport. When the mode of passion is prominent, the mode of goodness and ignorance are defeated. When the mode of goodness is prominent, passion and ignorance are defeated. And when the mode of ignorance is prominent, passion and goodness are defeated. This competition is always going on. Therefore, one who is actually intent of advancing in Krishna consciousness has to transcend these three modes. The prominence of some certain mode of nature is manifested in one's dealings, in his activities, in eating, etc. All this will be explained later in chapters. But if one wants, he can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the mode of ignorance and passion. One can similarly develop mode of passion, defeating goodness and ignorance. Or one can develop the mode of ignorance, defeating goodness and passion. Although there are these three modes of material nature, if one is determined, he can be blessed by mode of goodness, and by transcendenting mode of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness, which is called Vasudeva state, a state in which one understands the science of God. By the manifestation of particular activities, it can be understood in what mode of nature one is situated. So we have been discussing that it's not always that one mode is prominent. Prominent means this verse says it is prominent, but in our life, the modes are always changing. Sometimes means at any moment. At any moment, Sattva can overcome Rajas and Tamas, or either way of the three. So if we see over say 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 1 hour or 1 day, every time, every moment, any mode can overcome us by surpassing the other modes. And that we can actually, um experience that via our activities. That of course Krishna will tell, but the main point is because of the competition between the modes, we are always bound by some mode, and we act accordingly. And not only act, we eat, we talk, everything we do according to a particular mode that is dominant in that time. So it's not only the um, our individual mood or our individual mode, but also the situation around us also determines the mode. So in particular place can be mode of ignorance, like a particular place can be passion, particular place can be goodness. So in temple, if you go, you will feel peaceful. It is mode of goodness. If you go to a soccer match or uh, games or office, it's mode of passion. If you go to restaurants and bars and all this, if you go to this pachinko and slot, if you just walk and the door opens of the pachinko and slot, you hear the loud music and the smell of the smoke and all. It's ignorance. We can clearly feel that the mode of ignorance is prominent with mode of passion to achieve the money, to achieve something. So, but the situation also and the surrounding around us also determine how we will behave. That's why we have to, that's why always it is said in Shastra that you associate with saintly people, because the saintly people are generally try to in mode of goodness. Of course, devotees, saintly people, they try, but sorry, but it's not 100% guaranteed always, right? So there, because the modes compete with each other, uh, and the sadhaka or devotee also is trying to establish himself by practice. So still he has not overcome the material situations. So we should not be surprised like if devotees or sadhak or yogi gets angry or he behaves some passionate activity, uh, expecting that person to be always in goodness and or Shuddha goodness is ideal. But as a sadhaka, the devotee is also struggling to overcome all these things. So the main point is how these three modes bind us and affect our life, affect our situation, affect our activities. And it is beyond our control, because this verse says that Rajas will overcome Tamas and Sattva. Tamas will overcome Rajas and Sattva. So these modes itself, they are competing and they will overcome. So even if we don't want, they will do. So for example, if I have some free time, and then in that free time, what I will do? Yeah, I have options. Say I can read book, the book that I wanted to read, or just take Bhagavad Gita. I can read Bhagavad Gita. I can chant. I can increase my knowledge. Or I can watch some movie. I can watch some videos. Or I can just sleep. So these three activities are in the different modes. So now, because we are talking, we think, oh, I have choice at that time. Maybe I will read. I will not sleep. Yeah, that is what we should do. But when we are in that situation, that particular mode we are in, that will overcome. So even if I understand that I should not sleep, better I should read. That will help me. But if the mode of ignorance is more prominent at that time, I will sleep. I cannot help that. I cannot control that urge to sleep, and I will sleep. So that is like the mode of ignorance overpowered us, the other modes, and it overpowered the body of our body also, right? So we, at least if we theoretically understand that at any moment we have choice to choose correct thing, then we have possibility, as Srila Prabhupada mentions, to be in mode of goodness. And that will help us to increase the knowledge, be peaceful, and that will elevate ourselves, our consciousness to the next level. So that is quite possible. But we should be in proper consciousness, and proper, and we should make proper choices when we face these situations. So that's why it is advised that you chant, you read, you visit temple, you be with devotees, you be with saintly people, so that your consciousness will be at a higher level and you will take proper decisions. So what decisions we take determines the result. So these spiritual activities are advised. Of course, 100%. Some people are there who stay in temple. They are always in mode of, or they have always possibility of being mode of goodness, but they will also sometimes go into passion and ignorance. But at least their atmosphere is good to be in mode of goodness. Uh, So we have to choose proper association. We have to choose proper atmosphere. We have to choose proper thought process. So that will help us to overcome this mode. Of course, now Krishna will tell in the next verses how these modes are complicated, they affect us. And so he has advised us to do bhakti, because bhakti is beyond the gunas. It will take you beyond the goodness also. So we can appreciate bhakti by understanding this chapter. So in the next verses, Krishna will tell how these modes affect uh, our behavior. So we'll see that tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So any comments? Anyone has any comments or points? We have some time. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining. We'll see you tomorrow.